How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Connect the Dots. This is going to be a fun episode with my friend here, Andy Hite. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into this. I don't want to bore you with the details, but I want to give a quick introduction to who Andy is. Okay. So, today we're talking about the toughest parts of being an entrepreneur and how to overcome them. Okay. This is a broad topic, but I think Andy's going to really zero in on a couple big points here. And hopefully, you leave today, if you're a solo entrepreneur or an entrepreneur that has, not zero, 1 to 300 employees, this is the episode for you. So a little bit about Andy. He's a leadership and life coach. He works with executives and entrepreneurs. Voted best life coach in Chicago for 2021 and 2022 consecutive years, guys. We're aiming for the hat trick 2023 too, right, Andy?
Oh yeah, I mean we're heading all the way down into the 30s.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
And he's a passionate about entrepreneurialism, and he's a devout student of coaching mastery. I love that part about him. You guys are going to find out more about that in a second here. And most important thing to him is family.
That's it. There's nothing without that.
You got it. I'm right there with you, brother. So without further ado, let's hop into this. We're going to talk about what are the most difficult obstacles entrepreneurs face today. So what do you say? What do you have to say about that, Angie?
Yeah. So you work with entrepreneurs too. Folks will come in with a myriad of questions and complaints and desires, stemming from everything from raising money to hiring people to, all kinds of obstacles that they're facing. The two things that for me it boils down to that I kind of help them see is really the two things are vision. A lot of people don't have a very, very clear vision of where they want to go, and belief that they can do it, and or belief that they can actually create a BHAG or an audacious vision. And consequently, because those two things tend to be missing, one or both, they become stalled, right?
Yeah, totally. I'm right there with you. And the vision so important because it acts like the North Star. And most people don't take the time to sit down, slow down, figure out what that actually means to them.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I like to point it out, when I'm working with someone, archery. If an archer steps up to the line to compete and the bullseye isn't very clear out in the distance, they don't have a prayer of winning. But yet oftentimes in life and entrepreneurialism, we want to win, but we don't really have a clear definition of what winning means. Or we don't have the belief in ourselves and in our teams to be able to create an audacious bullseye out in the future. Therefore, we stay stuck.
Yeah, no, that really resonates. And especially with the people that I work with as well. A lot of the goals tend to be a lot smaller. And you're right. You can't hit a target you can't see, right?
Yeah.
So that's what that vision's for. But now I'm more curious into when they do establish that vision and they find out sometimes that it's too small or sometimes that it's way too big, right? What do you do to
rarely too big?
I like that. It's never too big. Okay, guys. So if you're listening, never too big to create visions that, that are impossible at the time.
So if I could tag on to that, right? I put a post up a couple of days ago. There are no impossible dreams. I really do believe that. Only impossible timelines. We find this a lot in entrepreneurialism. People give up, people get discouraged because they're not seeing success in 6 months, 2 years, 3 years even. I mean, big, good things take time to build.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, I can't remember who it was, not me, but I think the quote went, all great things take time to write, or all great stories take time to write.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So be kind to yourself, guys. If you're an entrepreneur starting off, especially if you're starting off, you got to be kind to yourself and just hack away at it. Some days are going to be fun. Some days are not. Right.
If it's a new business and you can't give yourself a good 3 years, chances are you won't make it. Because you're going to tell yourself way too early that it's not possible.
Setting expectations early, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so after they set those expectations, they have the goals. how do you help them get into action? And just, once they start taking stuff or start taking on tasks, adding to their to-do list, they hack away at it. What I've noticed is a lot of people tend to just fall off and say, oh, this is too much for me. I
Yeah.
can't do it. Who am I to start doing this stuff? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, and then here comes the belief part, right? Um, Having that clear vision, being excited about moving in that direction, and then believing that it's possible. When those things are in synergy, we just do the very next step. Oftentimes with folks, whether corporate life, entrepreneurialism, we tend to set the big goal out in the distance, but then it becomes really daunting. It becomes intimidating. It's like standing at the base of Mount Kilimanjaro going, how the hell am I going to get up there? Well, the way you're going to get up there is one step at a time. And so I encourage people that I work with, just slow down, right? What is just the very next step? What is the task at hand right now? Let's just do that, right? And that tends to be really helpful and kind of takes away some of the anxiety of what could look like a mountain of work ahead.
Yeah, no, I love that too. Breaking things down into, manageable, digestible chunks,
Yeah.
taking that first step. And so,
Typically,
yeah, go ahead.
typically what we'll do when we work is like, okay, what do you want to accomplish in 2022? And is that really something you want to accomplish? Is it audacious enough to push you? If the answer is yes, great. All right, well, let's back out. What do we need to have done by the end of Q3 to succeed at that goal? What do we need to have done at the end of Q2 to succeed at that goal? And so, great. What do we need to do just this week? Just this week. So that's how we just break it down into, great, now that we know what we need to get done this week, what's the step that I have to take today? And that's all I have to worry about.
Thank you for that. And it's so important for people to actually be able to zoom in, zoom out, see what they have to do,
Yeah,
hack away at it. So I want to zoom in more on this
great.
whole belief system. Okay.
Yeah,
So in my experience, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, set these goals, these hairy, audacious goals of, I want to make $30,000 extra this year. So we break it down, and they start hacking away at it. And then they get to a point where they don't believe in themselves after the call. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I want to dive into that more. I have my own ways, but I would love to know more about you on how to get them to build that self-intrinsic motivators so that they actually keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's possible for me as the coach to build that for them.
Hmm.
The only thing that I can do is to help them see first what is the thing. How will life be different if you create that thing? Like, and what are we doing it for? Right? Oftentimes somebody will just have a revenue goal but without a why, and that's really kind of spinning their tires. You're not going to get behind that, because that's like saying I want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro just to get to the top, not for the satisfaction of having done something that nobody else has ever done, or not many people have ever done, and a lifelong goal of mine. And you know what I mean? So my job as a coach is to really get them tapped into how life would be different if they accomplish that and why they want to do it. And usually the calls us forward.
I didn't catch that last part that you cut out there.
Did I break up?
Yeah, the audio broke up. Sorry, audience. So you said something to propel you forward, something before.
Yeah, so it is the vision and the why and the what for. That's the thing that calls us forward into action. Oftentimes I think we get it wrong. We try to push ourselves into action, and that creates an adversarial relationship, pushing. Because what do you do when somebody pushes you?
Back.
You stand your ground.
Yeah.
Right? Whether or not it's like a fight or just somebody, you want to maintain your balance. but like calling someone forward into something bigger and better and more meaningful, people can get behind that.
Yeah, yeah. So creating goals and visions that actually pull you towards them instead of having to push yourself, right?
Yeah, and oftentimes that's the work that we have to do. Great. We have I don't know, we want to take our business from 7 million to 15 million in 2 years. Great. Why? What is it that's going to get you up in the morning excited to do that? Because a difference of $8 million won't.
Yeah, and that's something else I want to highlight too, is a lot of people set these financial goals, especially the ones that I work with. They think the finances are going to bring them more happiness, but then once they attain them,
Oh,
the grass isn't always greener on the other side, guys, right? Um,
I've never met a person who was unhappy, got their 5 million bucks, and then turned happy, right? Happiness, joy, meaning, it's an inside job. You can never find it outside. It's a cliche. We've all heard that, but we know it to be um, essentially true, very true.
hmm, yes, yes.
That's why we want to get connected to something much deeper than a number in our bank account, because that won't bring us anything. What's your mission? What's your vision? What's your purpose?
Nice. And I would love to know more about that, how do you do that? What's your approach to helping them realize what's their purpose, their mission, their visions?
Yeah, it really is through conversation and understanding, helping them understand what's really, really, really important to them. For 40 plus years, I tried to build my bank account. It wasn't until I tied building a business to teaching my children that it took off. I wanted to show my kids, my teenage daughters, because they were going to be leaving or will be leaving soon for college, what it looks like to chase a dream, so that they had that modeled for them before they left. And that, for me, for a period of time, was the biggest driver for me to get up, come in this office, and build something that I'm really proud of.
Love it, love it. Following the passion, and what I hear in that is a goal that is beyond you, right? It wasn't just for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really key point for those of you who are, setting goals, worthy goals, whatever they may be. Um, Having it be important, not just for yourself, but for others that are dependent on you or around you, and how it affects the world, right?
I think, it doesn't have to be the main driver, but I think all of us as humans, when we're really tapped into ourselves and in the world, um, we have an innate desire to contribute, to give something to the world, and that could be as small as just to our child, right? Or animals, the environment. But a life filled with meaning, I think, has some component of contribution, and almost without exception, when I see and find people that are tying their lives, their work, to some amount of contribution, they tend to be happier.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I also noticed that when they do focus on other people or other things, the tasks they have to do get a lot easier.
Yeah.
But by that,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it is what's in it for me, me, me. How do I make more money, more impact, and whatever. But then I find that also stops people from taking action. So, for example, I've worked with a client who wants to create an e-commerce, website or build an e-commerce business, right? Going through the motions, he dreads it. But then once he finds that, how to serve people, how to make a difference, how to, what this product is actually going to do and bring value to other people, that gets him to move.
Makes absolute sense, because that's tied to a much bigger why than having, this website that sells widgets or whatever it is it's selling, right? Because there's inherently no meaning in that.
Right. Right.
Right?
Nice.
If you want to get to the 5 million, great. What's the 5 million for?
Hmm.
Is it just a vanity metric that you look at your bank statement, or is it because you want to contribute to something? You want to provide legacy to your family. It could be anything, as long as it's meaningful to you.
And then highlighting that meaning for you and whoever you're working with. I've also found that having an accountability partner or someone to work with makes it a lot more fun. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I don't think that we're meant to function in a vacuum.
Hmm.
I've even some of the biggest introverts that I know, and I'm a big introvert, but um, we're inherently, and I don't think this is the rule, but I think it is true. We work much better in collaboration with people. I'm a part of a couple of masterminds. I've run masterminds. It's no question that when you have a group of people that you're on a journey with, that you can lean on, that you can contribute to, things tend to click much easier.
Yeah, I also find that being in those kind of groups too, they help you see so many things. You can kind of leverage the collective intelligence
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
their experiences, their anecdotes, and all that, right?
If you're an entrepreneur out there and you don't have a group of fellow entrepreneurs that you can lean on, I highly suggest you find it. There's tons of groups out there, paid and unpaid. You can form your own, but having that support system is invaluable.
And I would love to dive more into that if that's
Yeah.
okay with you.
Yeah.
So, what are two, three key elements into what makes those kind of masterminds? I mean, it's
Yep.
given, you have the community, their support, but
It's a
in,
great
in
question.
in your opinion, what makes those so powerful and what needs to be there to make a big difference?
You want people that are really going to push you and challenge you. Jim Rohn said you are equal to the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So you want to look for versions of yourself that you'd like for yourself to be, and find those people to be a part of that group. People, for me, people that are driven, people that are creative, people that are hardworking and that will hold me to a high standard, people that are actually achieving a lot in the world. That's important to me. So define a version of yourself that you want to grow into, and then find 4 or 5 of those people and create a mastermind.
Yes, love that. And finding the people I found is a lot easier than most think, right? A lot of people may think, I got to put a billboard up or a sign in Starbucks and say, call me if you want to be part of my group kind of thing. But the groups that I've formed, they're actually a lot closer within my inner circles. And you can just reach out and say, hey, I'm running this thing. You do want to join?
Yeah, there's just a ton. Coaches like ourselves run them on occasion. There's EO for entrepreneurs. If you don't know EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, you really, really should. It's one of the best entrepreneurial organizations in the world. Vistage, you can join something like that. Or you can create your own. I mean, the sky's the limit. And if you are committed to finding that group for yourself, they will appear.
And so, I want to talk about hard stuff. For this, it sounds easy to us because we've done it before, but before.
No, it's still hard for me. It's hard.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, how would you suggest for the people who want to do this kind of stuff to get over the hard stuff, to get over that hump? Because, yes, we have this vision, belief that we can do it. Something's pulling us towards us to take action, but there's still this gap that I see amongst people where they don't want to do the hard stuff or they're just too scared to do it. So, what else can we give to them?
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on what we're defining as hard,
Mm.
right? Um, Something that I hear a lot in my community and amongst clients right now, it's really hard to find good talent. With the great resignation, the talent holds the power,
Mm.
right? And I hear a lot of people complaining because they can't appropriately staff. I also hear folks that are having those challenges that are just going about the daily work of doing what they need to staff. Sometimes we make significance out of what we deem to be an obstacle or a problem. And I would caution us against it, because every business owner out there if that is, for instance, something that you're struggling with, everybody's struggling with it. So to fight it is only going to make you miserable and make it harder for you to do. The problem is only in our thinking about it. It's not the problem.
Yeah, no, that really
I'll say
resonates.
that again, though. The problem is only in your thinking about it. You get to decide whether or not this is just the worst thing you ever faced or not. Or this is just what hiring talent is like in spring of 2022. We tend to make significance out of problems a lot when they don't necessarily need to be.
In that, I hear that, circumstances should be considered as neutral. Circumstances are not your whatever's going on. It's the thought and the way you approach it, the way you perceive it to be, is what creates your reality, right?
Yes. I talk to my clients, I use this analogy a lot of times. Imagine that a 10-year-old boy on a Saturday afternoon has been looking forward to this Saturday for a month because he had a play date with 3 of his best friends. They were going to ride bikes and there was a birthday party. Like it was going to be the best day of his life. But he wakes up to thunderstorms with lightning, right? He can't do any of it. His life is ruined. Fast forward down the block, there's 2 friends that are just outside on a hot summer day dancing in the rain laughing. It's not the rain. It's our thinking about the rain. It's not being able to hire. It's our thinking about what the problem is and how significant it is.
And
we can apply that to everything. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's great. So with that said, I want to offer this mindset shift, and well, not really mindset shift, but a way to see things. Opportunity lies within obstacles, right?
Yeah.
So any obstacle you have, guys, as an entrepreneur, you're going to be faced with tons. It's a given. How can you transform that obstacle into an opportunity? And just like Andy's story, take the thunderstorm and make it a crazy rain party where you're just having a play date, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. And so we've touched on motivation, we've touched on vision, how to get through these obstacles. I want to talk more about money and serving. Is that okay with you?
Sure. Where do you want to go?
So I want to touch on this quickly because a lot of people have these stories about money and what it means and how selling is icky and all that, right? Nowadays, we've almost, I want to hope we've gone through the COVID thing. So we're getting to a place where, real estate, wherever you are in the world, I don't know where you are, but is an all-time high. The salaries are not keeping up with the rate of, real estate value. And so a lot of us are looking to create side hustles or grow their businesses even further. But then some people have these inner stories about money and that need to be rewritten so that they can actually start serving and start making more money.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to talk about, what are the kind of money problems or money stories that you faced or have dealt with or helped dealt with, and how they overcome that.
There are many money stories out in the world as there are humans. 7+ billion. I mean, everybody has their relationship with money. I think the important thing to try and get a hold of is it's just a story. Money in itself, I was just in Costa Rica, so here's some Costa Rican money. This bill has no opinions. This bill has no agenda. This bill has no thoughts about who it wants to go spend time with. It doesn't care. It's just paper. It's us that create these stories about it being hard to come by. It doesn't like me. Only rich people are bad. This was me, if I get success, it might change me, or I won't get the love that they're all stories. This bill does not care. And so getting clear, writing down your beliefs about what money is it hard to come by? Is that true, or is that just an interpretation? Look out into the world. Are there some people that get money easily? Great. That's just an interpretation. That's a story. What's a way to rewrite that? I could come by money easily if I chose to. That doesn't mean that we just sit back and kind of go om and manifest it, because that doesn't work. Manifestation is the combination of intention and work, action. That's how you get it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Being real with yourself and actually looking at the inner stories, taking that time to write it down and focus on where those stories actually originated from, right?
Yeah.
Um, Go ahead.
It's not to oversimplify it. I had to get a lot of help
Hmm.
from folks, from therapists, from mentors, from coaches, frankly, to help me see what those money stories even were, right? A fish doesn't know it's in water until someone shows them that they are distinct from the water they swim in. And we are the same way. We don't really know the stories that we live out on a daily basis until we are gifted the awareness of that story being present. And sometimes that's why having a mastermind, having a group of friends, having a mentor, or a counselor, or a coach can be really, really helpful, because we can't see what we can't see.
I'd like to add to that and saying, typically we're too close to the problem to actually see what the problem is.
Yeah, the fish is so close to the water that it is touching like, it doesn't know it's in water because it doesn't see itself distinct from the water.
No, love that. Thank you for that. That's really, really good to bring to light, because we go through the motions every day thinking this is what I want, but without that awareness to actually see where we're going. It's funny. I was reading a post the other day about how success can be seeds for more problems, right? So we think we want an extra,
Yes.
we think we want another $1,000,000, but what does that really bring, right? And I think one of the stories that really stood out to me was cobras. Okay, so back in, I think it was the 1920s, when the British was in the rule of India, the there were cobras. There was a big problem with cobras, and the British government, issued this bounty reward for people to kill the cobras. Right? Great idea, right?
Yeah.
But what happened was this gave birth to cobra breeders that would exploit the system, where they would breed their own cobras, kill them, and then they would reap the benefits of the
Reap the
bounty,
benefits.
right? So you can see success. Yes, you fix one problem, but then you create another, and to have that awareness.
Well, and I think your listeners will probably agree that the more success they've attained, the bigger the problems are.
Hmm.
The higher you get up the ladder, the more falling off is more dangerous, right?
Mhm.
And that just goes back to belief. The thoughts we think inform the beliefs that we embody, and the beliefs that we embody inform the action that we take out into the world. And so we want to maintain perspective on that.
Yes, yes. And I want to bring light into that, because talking about people at different stages of their entrepreneurship journey. Okay. I work with people who are just starting, they're starting their new business, getting their side hustle going. And I've also worked with, executives who have 300 employees. And what I've found, and maybe you can talk to this as well, is the commonality is there are days where there's this doubt within them of not knowing where to go.
Oh, the higher you move up, the more every single client I work with talks about imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
And the more success they get, the more the imposter syndrome jumps out. And I always say, I think it's a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
because it means that you're pushing yourself, and it means that you're dancing at your edges. Just don't believe the stories,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, the higher one gets, the bigger the stakes, the bigger the problems, bigger the balls that they're juggling are.
Do you mind sharing a quick story, no names, obviously, of an example just like this, and how you help them overcome it?
I mean, almost every single one of my clients, we've had this conversation. Yeah, I mean, I have a client who has, I won't name the business, but he has a very successful business. And his goal is to acquire about 10 others that are in the same space across the country. And as he's looking at that big mountain, that imposter syndrome is saying, really, you think you can do that? What makes you think you can do that? And then so all the other problems come in of, well, how would we deal with the HR of that? We have a great culture here. How would we deal with how do we take this thing and then replicate it amongst all the others? Well, the balls just get bigger the more that we take on, but not really. We just think they do, because all we can do is the very next step.
Yeah, no, I love that. And speaking of, systems that are working in place, I would love your take on this. Okay. So there are obviously people within organizations, and I like to consider everybody in the organization is an entrepreneur.
Yes.
At its core, every organization is like mini businesses within the big organization. And so people are resistant to change. There are people where they're people pleasers, right? And they'll say, yes, I can do it, no problem. But they end up going back to their desk and falling into old patterns, right? So how would you, in your professional opinion, how would you help them break free of that and actually build the awareness to see that what they're doing is wrong? Wrong is subjective, obviously,
Yeah.
but is not contributing to the benefit of the overall organization.
So that starts at the leadership level. And what that tells me is perhaps in that particular company, there's not really strong leadership that's flowing down from the executive team. I agree with you. I would want everybody in my organization to be a leader, to be an entrepreneur, to take ownership of everything they're doing and to be ultimately creative with it. I think whoever their direct report is the one that needs to be there calling them forward. The other thing is, and you find this on a small level within corporations, in departments, there's no vision. There's no bullseye for that particular employee that you're talking to about. What are they meant to accomplish this year, this quarter, this week? Right? We get on this cycle, kind of the hamster wheel of just like doing the same things by rote over and over without any clear destination in the future. And that kind of environment breeds the employee that you're speaking about right now. Their direct report should be giving them, here are your KPIs, right? This is the key performance indicator that we know that you're on track. How can I support you to reach those? What is it that you need in order to be excited about doing this work and reaching those?
Yeah, no, I love that. Creating meaning to the work is so important to me, right? It doesn't matter if you're low level management, upper management, whatever you're doing, everybody seems to want some sort of significance. And so just like you said, creating that, helping them see the KPIs, where they're going, why they're doing what they're doing.
Well, I think there's a big gap in leadership in corporate America right now. In fact, it's not really leadership, it's just management, right? We're managing our departments, we're managing our people, but we're not actually leading them. Leading is calling them into a new direction, right? We're not empowering them. We're just making sure that they hit their deliverables on a certain day to a certain quality. Well, to a lot of people, especially nowadays with millennials and zennials, that's like freaking death. That's why people are leaving their job. Millennials are leaving jobs trying to figure out something else, because that's not the life they want. That starts with leadership. And I believe we're kind of creating and living through a bit of an awakening where that's concerned right now.
Love that. Yes. And to add to that, leadership isn't a skill that you're born with. It's a skill that you learn, right? By doing. And
I would submit it's a skill that you be.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of talk, you can go to Barnes and Noble and you can pick up 24+ books on what leadership is. The truth of the matter is leadership is all of those in the moment, right? Sometimes you need to be the charismatic, commanding type, but sometimes you need to be the sort of, I'm going to use the word feminine, not on female, but more empathetic, listening type. Sometimes you need to scream at them.
Mm.
If something is dire, like leadership is whatever is needed in the moment to call them forward into whatever the mission is. And sometimes I think we get lost on definitions of leadership, which ultimately limits what leadership is.
Yeah, yeah, and having people take a look at what leadership means to them is really important too. Building that awareness again. Um, I don't know if the algorithm is going to hate me for this, but I hear so much in what you just said of the similarities between leadership, sales, and sex.
Say more.
Yeah.
I
By
mean, I
that,
could probably connect the dots, but that sounds like a fun convo.
right? I don't know if it might be offline, but you know, you learn by doing. You don't read a book and just think, oh yeah, now I'm a good leader, or now I'm a good salesman, or now I'm great at sex just by reading a book. You just got to do and continue and experiment and go at it, and you'll get better as you continue to do that, right?
Yep.
And so leaning into leadership nowadays, and I'd like to say nobody likes to be managed. You're right. I totally agree with you on that point. Is people are just managing, and that's why the exodus of the employees is happening, right? Um, but I love to be at the forefront of that education as a coach, as a consultant, as a trusted advisor, that we get to, educate people on what leadership really means and show them and have them live that, right?
Yeah. If they're called to grow their leadership,
Mm, yes. And
which not everybody is, and that's
exactly.
okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
the work that is available and the work that we do is completely elective for those that are called for more, to be more,
Yes.
to
And
create
so
more.
to end on that note, guys, you are meant for more. If you're listening to this, if you've gotten this far into this interview, you are meant for more. And if you are ready to go, I'm going to share these with you, the deets. So if you want to reach out with Andy, definitely, as you can see, he'll make you into a great leader. So reach out. This is his website. This is his email. Andy is a nice, great guy. So as you can see from the video, he's really approachable. And without, don't hesitate. Don't wait, because now there's no better time than now. This is his website. Looks like this. If you haven't seen it already, go check it out. And I want to say thank you, huge, big thank you to Andy for taking the time to talk to our audience today. Is there anything you want to say to the audience?
No, I'm just grateful for you having me on, and for you providing this kind of content to your audience. And I would just say, if any of you out there are feeling the call for more, it doesn't have to be with me, it doesn't have to be with Alex, but listen to the call, because that is your inner wisdom kind of calling you into the next chapter. Find that right spot that can bring the best in you out.
That and to bring awareness to you guys, typically heroes in the hero's journey, you guys are familiar with Joseph Campbell. The calling is there, but a lot of us are resistant to that call. So if you feel that
Yeah,
resistance, you're going in the right direction. Okay.
there you go.
All right, guys. Thanks for checking in. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you guys in the next episode of Connect the Dots. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.